Hi guys, I'm Shmee. Hello and welcome back to the channel where you join me today at the Shmeemuseum to go out for what is going to be the last drive in my AMG GT R Pro. Now I've been umming and ahhing about this one for quite some time, going backwards and forwards as to whether I want to keep the car or to move it on to a new home, but I've owned it now for about 3 months shy of 2 years. Since then, we've had the arrival of the GT R Roadster about 9 months ago, just a matter of days ago, the GT Black Series, and then even more recently, all happening at once, the C63 Black Series as well, in the matching Designo Diamond White, the two very Stormtrooper-esque cars we could say, and in fact, that plate is going to be transferring to this car. But there are quite a few reasons why, despite how cool this car is and how many things that I have enjoyed doing with it over these nearly 2 years, that I've decided it's time for it to move on. It will be going for sale, but I want to take it for a last run out to bring back some of those memories and to explain all about why the Pro is departing the Shmeemobiles. It's been a funny ownership of the GT R Pro for two reasons. The first, the timing of it, and the second, the car and how I would say it's quite misunderstood. So I took delivery of this particular car, one of 750 in total that Mercedes-AMG have made, one of I believe about 45 to 50 in total here in the UK, but I collected it in November 2019, so as I said, 3 months shy of 2 years ago, with a lot of intentions to take it to many racetracks come spring 2020 and into the summer. Now I think we all know that that kind of went wrong, and interestingly I guess a lot of people thought it was disappointing that I wasn't using my cars so much, but of course with the travel restrictions that came in and with everything else that was going on, that was the least of the concerns at the time. But it did mean that until I was able to get the car out to Germany to the Nurburgring slightly later on, it didn't really do a whole lot more driving. When I eventually got it over, I did get a good few outings with the car, a couple of track days, a couple of opportunities to stretch the legs, to have it there with the SLS Black Series as well, and enjoyed it an awful lot. But this is a car that is really at home in the racetrack environment. The GT R Roadster, which I collected a year after the Pro at the end of 2020, is so much more suited to the road. The difference is actually incredible. The suspension, the ride, the comfort of it, the usability of it, the extra technology, the adaptive cruise control, for example, all of those side of things, the upgraded sound system, just make it much more of a road car. So when you jump forwards a little bit more, and we have the arrival of this, the GT Black Series, the ultimate track weapon, with even more power, going up from the 585 in the Pro to the 730 that comes out of this. And this is actually, from my experience so far, a more pleasant road car as well. It rather renders this, I suppose, a little bit redundant in the collection. Now you could argue having all of these AMGs, plus the SLS, which isn't here at the moment, is totally redundant, but I do really enjoy driving them. They do a lot of miles. The GTR that I had originally, I did about 18,000 miles with. This has done about 3, that's already done about 4.5, I believe. The GT Black Series is quickly accruing the miles as well. So it's not as if this car hasn't had a good run for its money. It's had plenty of good outings, and it's a very, very cool thing. When you look at it here, it's got the full topaz paint protection film combined as well with the gloss black PPF over the top for the stripes that you have on the doors, the bonnet, and even going over the carbon roof as well. A nice detail that we have running up over the top of the car. Things that are subtle and make it a little bit different from the other ones out there, but really working very well against the diamond white paintwork. Then being the GT R Pro, it retained the same powertrain, that 585 horsepower, 4-litre twin-turbo V8, all to the rear wheels, 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox, 700 newton-meters of torque, but it added a new look to the front end, a new fascia with this lower carbon splitter, with the motorsport-esque struts to support it, the carbon flicks that run around the side, you get the louvres over the wheel arches, although I did always question why those weren't carbon fibre. They came like that. That was how all of the cars were. A few other carbon parts around the outside, like this, which subtly integrates the AMG 5-stripe logo. And then if we come around, other details specific to the Pro, the gurney flap that you have here at the back of the wing that just lifts the air and changes the aero profile, and then these carbon add-ons inspired from the AMG 1, which look awesome. And then on the inside, in fact, while we're here at the back of the car, let me just pop this open. Different logo with the checkered flag, love that. Inside here, oh, we've got everything that came with the car. We've got the harnesses, fire extinguisher. I never installed those, but they came with the car. You get the cage, half cage at the back, and then in the car itself, you also have the bucket seats, which give a lot of good feel when you're driving in here with all of the Dynamica for the appearance as well. They were one spec fits all apart from the colour here in the UK. You couldn't actually configure the GT R Pros. You had them effectively as they came with just the choice of different colours. I went with the diamond white, a colour which we've now got matched with the C63 Black Series. It is a multi-layer pearl paintwork, which means no two cars will ever be the same. And I think that the Pro is actually slightly darker than the C63. It might be quite hard to see that on the camera. But anyway, enough waffling on. Let's get this car outside, take it for a run, and I'll explain a little bit more. Just quickly, before getting on the road in the GT R Pro, I'd like to say thank you to one of the supporters of the Shmeemobile project, one of our partners, Latham Steel Security Doors, who very kindly provided the doors that we have here, both at the front door and also over at the fire exit. Of course, absolutely compulsory to have some sturdy steel doors, very secure for the purpose. It is a big thanks to them for providing those and for being part of making all of this happen. If you're looking for that kind of thing, do check out Latham Steel Security Doors. For now though, let's get the Pro outside and go talk about this out on the roads. One of the fairly bizarre things driving this car is that the new price was only just over half the Black Series. And when you think about what the cars offer and how much is actually different between them, this is a relative bargain, especially considering on the market right now, it's about a third of the price of a GT Black Series. This is a car that on the racetrack is absolutely brilliant. And like I said, I bought it with the intention of spending a fair amount of time driving it on tracks. I had all of this route planned out to go to Zandvoort, to go to Spa, to do lots of the Nurburgring, to take it down to Ascari, to Portimao, but that unfortunately obviously couldn't happen. I did get to spend a little bit of time driving it on the Nordschleife, and I would like to say a few words about the current situation if you're not aware of what's happened in the region. And I'm ashamed to say I didn't really fully realise until taking some time to watch the videos and the content from my friends Robert and Misha over at Apex at the Nurburgring as to the flooding that's happened there over the last week or two, and the, I suppose, strange situation that here in the UK, while it was reported there was flooding, it wasn't really very well reported how bad it was and how serious the situation became. I would certainly recommend reading into this. It's an area obviously close to my heart, and I apologise that I didn't take it in sooner. In fact, Misha had sent me pictures of his car looking completely messy, and I just thought it was dirty. I didn't realise it had actually been fully submerged and completely ruined, and that is a very minor thing compared to the lives that have been lost. I'll pop some information down below. Obviously at the moment I'm unable, due to the travel restrictions, to even go to Germany to be part of this in any way, which I think creates some of this disconnect, especially here in the UK. We have a lot of our own problems at the moment as well, which certainly distract the media, but it's a really, really serious thing that has happened in the Eifel Mountains. The flooding is absolutely horrific, and yeah, it's, to be honest, really very, very scary. He says, as we have a DB11 Volante followed by a Ghost squeezing through the narrow lanes here. Nice. Oh, followed by more Rolls Royces. I'm not quite sure what I've stumbled upon, but we seem to have a whole stream of Rolls Royces coming past. And throw in a Merc as well, another Ghost. How funny. Another Ghost, another Ghost. Yeah, normal stuff, eh? I wasn't expecting that at all. Anyway, let me make my way out in this direction and let's focus a little bit more, I think, on this car. As you know, my channel is about passion and positive things around cars. So this car, like I said, has created some brilliant memories already. I've had it at VMAX in Germany on the Autobahn, literally a standstill 2 VMAX in one sprint, which was a phenomenal experience. It's had a few laps around. I would have liked to have done Hockenheim and to taken it to other places as well, but obviously it's been a particularly funny year, as I said. And then now we have the Black Series, and you might argue, why did I buy this car in the first place? Well, like I said, at the time I had my original AMG GT R. It was also the facelift. It brought with it the larger screen, the digital dashboard, and a host of other updates to the car beyond the extra additional features you got with it being the GT R Pro. And obviously this is right up my street. All of my cars, as you know from the videos, are tracked, are driven hard, are enjoyed. All maintained properly, all serviced properly, all with Topaz paint protection film, but certainly bought for purpose and used, and I would have really liked to have done more miles. But now in this peculiar position, and I agree it makes absolutely no sense to even have 2 or 3 of the AMGs. They're all quite similar at the end of the day. I think this is the one of any of them, which if I had to say that's the one that has to go, it has to go, and that's the position, you know, that I am now effectively in with it. I think it's time. I think it's right. The market is in a very buoyant position at the moment with the supply shortages of new cars. I'm sure this is the same pretty much anywhere around the world, but the situation is that nearly new cars are at an exceptionally high value at the moment. It's very much a seller's market, so it's an interesting time to sell. The car is probably worth as much as a GR Yaris, more than it was 6 months ago, which is the quite odd thing. So when I was thinking, oh, I'll keep that, was because it had depreciated a lot, and you know, at that point it makes sense to just keep a hold of it and enjoy it a load more. But now with values lifting up a little bit, you have to look at these things as they come, and you know, I don't expect to sell it for loads. I've enjoyed the car. It's done some miles. It's done 3,000 miles, but it's time to let somebody else enjoy it. I think that's where I'm at with it. I've had a really good time. I've had some great outings, and you know, had it in Germany for a bit, had it up and down the autobahns. Haven't gone too far and too crazy with it. Like I said, it's a funny one. It's sat in such an odd position because it's so track focused with the noises of the cage, with the manually adjustable dampers. It's like a GT3 RS Weissach compared to the regular GT3 RS or the regular AMG GT R in this case, but it does look the absolute business. Anyway, let's try and find some countryside somewhere and actually enjoy some driving. Obviously, I'm driving here in the countryside in the UK, and we have a lot of these very, very narrow country lanes where you are not ideally suited in a car like this. It would be much better in the GR Yaris, the Focus RS, the Cayman GT4, or a lot of other different cars. This is perfectly at home on the smooth, lovely tarmac, flowing roads that you find over in Germany. Funny that, including the Autobahn, as we meander our way on through. But what you can do, obviously, is press the button on the steering wheel, pop it into individual mode, which, unlike in other cars, obviously in here, does not adjust the suspension. We don't have any adaptive suspension. It does things like your throttle response, your sound, the exhaust valves, puts it into manual, start dropping down some gears, and then we can talk about the sound of the car. Because obviously I got this as the facelift, the refresh, the update to the AMG GT R, and that also brought with it the OPF era, and especially in comparison with my previous AMG GT R, which had upgraded turbos, a tune, downpipes, and all sorts from Rentec, it got a whole lot quieter. Now that's good in some ways, because obviously sound regulations on racetracks, particularly here in the UK, if you want to go and drive on circuit, you actually don't want a very loud car, which is why I don't change the exhaust on the Senna, for example, because otherwise I'll just end up getting kicked off, and that's no fun at all. But it does take away some of the emotion, because so much of that comes from cars. So I never modified this because I didn't really know what I was going to do with it, what the long-term plan would be. But when you do start pushing on and going through some corners and getting the pace into a nice flow, the car really rewards you. The feeling from the rear wheel steering, it's such a good setup in here. It works so well, and you do get some nice burbles and cracks. You just get a whole lot of piped in sound through the speakers as well, which isn't real. It's slightly frustrating. But don't get me wrong, this car is an absolute hoot to drive, but the Roadster is just a little bit more at home with the roof down. I mean, it was raining earlier, but it's a lovely day to drive on the roads, and then the Black Series is even more extreme than this on the racetrack. Now, you could possibly argue that when cars get to the value of something like the GT Black Series, you're reluctant in a way to push it on so hard. You don't want to go and track it and that kind of things, just conscious of the fact that it's limited and harder to replace. But really, at the end of the day, the same is kind of true with this one. Oh, we got a bit of a mini flood here to drive through. No problems. Obviously we're on the Sport Cup 2 tyres. It has such a nice power delivery, obviously twin turbo, but I really, really enjoy driving this car. I always have with the AMG GT R, so that's why I've built up this obsession. It's a chicken and egg thing. I know some people think, oh, you just buy them all to get the Black Series, but I actually want the Black Series because I enjoy driving them all so much, and obviously this is a circle. There's no end to it. It will always go backwards and forwards when it comes to these kind of things. But I've loved the AMG GTRs. As I said earlier, between them I've done so many miles, and throw in the SLS as well, which at the end of the day is a very, very similar platform. And actually jumping into the GT Black Series, which takes away the rear wheel steering, obviously quite a different feel as a result, is so much more similar to the SLS, and I'm sure there are some components that are actually shared between the two of them. When you think of it, you've got the same feel sitting right back towards the rear wheels, and genuinely this is just an incredible car to drive. It's a really, really nice car to drive, and if I didn't have the Roadster in the Black Series, there's no way I'd sell it. And I think in the future this might even end up being the collectible one, because it was the one that was slightly compromised, and ironically being slightly compromised makes things really quite collectible and makes things more, I guess, exciting in a way, because when things are perfect, they're a little bit boring. Being too clinical is not exciting. It's a phrase that doesn't really make sense, but that seems to be the way so many of these things actually tend to go. Back onto the open roads, however, it's really very fast. It is easy to forget that already this was a quick car. The Black Series is just stratospherically fast, 145 horsepower more, which is completely and totally unnecessary, because when you're throwing this around something like the Nurburgring, you don't really need more power than this. I just enjoy driving it an awful lot. I enjoy the AMG GT formula. I just wish I'd got involved in it sooner. I had actually considered back when, in about 2015, when I bought my 675 LT FF and 981 GT4, I did then look at whether I could try and, after that, add an AMG GTS to the collection. I went and looked at a lovely blue one back at the time, and to be honest, with hindsight, I would have absolutely loved it, I think, if I had gone for it. Just take it easy as we go past here. I think a car's just broken down. Not the most ideal spot for them, but obviously when I got into the AMG GTR, I've talked about this a few times, it was a bit of a kind of gamble. I wanted to try an AMG. My parents had often had Mercedes cars when I was younger, including an E55 AMG at one point, and the GTR, the idea of it was just cool, and the launch campaign, the Beast of the Green Hell, was so well done by the team at Mercedes-Benz. And then the evolution of it really since then. And I did go back and forth a bit between the Pro and the Roadster, and whether I should get one or both, and decided that I would drive them both, and truth be told, I have no regrets about that. And obviously we'll keep the Roadster alongside the Black Series, because that just makes more sense as a pairing, like I had the Focus RS's, you know, slightly different setups. In fact, the Roadster and the Black Series are really quite different cars when you consider them. You kind of bring the whole package together and look at them all in all. I do just wish it had a bit more kick to it, like the SLS and the C63, that era of those massive, massive naturally aspirated engines, that while these might be technically superior, just not quite the same. I mean, it's certainly technically superior. The grip that it carries and that side of things. Anyway, let me make my way back now, back towards the Shmeemuseum to wrap things up. Back at the Shmeemuseum, and the Pro is looking fantastic. I'm not normally the biggest fan of white cars, but I went for the diamond white on this to have that contrast with the black of the stripes, and also with all of the exposed glossy carbon fiber parts. There was actually one other thing apart from the paint color that you could choose for the GT R Pro, and that was the wheels. These are the RXE wheel, the lightweight wheel finished in the satin grey. Now that was exclusively for the GT R Pro, but you could opt to have the car with the same wheel, the RXC as it's actually called, which is the wheel that you can have as the upgrade on the GTR or is standard on the Roadster, which is this wheel in satin black. So for me, the Pro should always wear that exclusive wheel design. You've got the carbon ceramics behind, which was standard, part of the base spec, you could say, for the Pro, which was very high to begin with, coming with carbon ceramics, coming with all of the lower carbon fiber. Here in the UK, though, you couldn't spec to have the exposed carbon wing. In other regions, you actually could, and it had a slightly different roof shape with the cutout and I suppose shaping of it to the regular GTR, specifically for the GT R Pro. It's a cool looking thing, one of 750 in the world, but in the garage with the GT Black Series, with the GT R Roadster, and now with the C63 Black Series joining the G and the SLS Black, It's a little bit AMG overload and a little bit AMG GT overload, as I'm sure you'll agree. Currently 6 out of the 17 cars that are actually part of the Shmeemobiles, part of the garage. So one is going to be departing, and the Pro, I suppose, is the one to head off because of the various reasons that I've mentioned today. So this is it, the last drive. The car is going to be departing. Now you might have just noticed, we also currently have 2 EVs here. We installed the CTEC ChargeStorm Connected 2 charger, and we've actually just been having 2 cars charging at once. My Taycan, which is now at 100%, so I've unplugged it, and also the Audi UK press car, the Q440 e-tron, which is here at the moment. That's just on its way up towards 100% as well. But nice to have that capability, and I guess a bit of a vision of the future with the 2 cars charging up at the same time at the moment here at the Shmuseum. I'd also like to say thank you again to Latham Steel Security Doors for providing our steel doors here at the front entrance, and also, as I said, the fire exit door as well. Compulsory in a place like this to have the right kind of doors. So if you're looking for that kind of thing, do check out Latham Steel Security Doors. Today though, the GT R Pro, a bit of a farewell. I love the car, I'm going to be sad to see it go, but I think it makes sense considering the garage overall and the collection of cars, and make some space for other things in the future as well. For now though, thank you very much for watching, guys. Thank you for your support as always. It is really appreciated. But that's it for this time, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.